Rise and shine, ladies. You're tuned in to Skirts Up with Samantha and Melissa.
We got your daily dose of hope and humor while we discuss everything from failing to succeeding
and all the spiciness in between. Hi.
Hi.
We're
Hey.
back.
What's up, Skirts Up Squad? It's Samantha.
And Melissa.
And we are doing our On the Porch with Sam and Mel.
Hi. So we're going over the Melissa Walker episode.
Yet,
Which
the episode was Healing Trauma with Melissa Walker, LMFT.
Yeah.
And so basically we talked about, it was a 2-part episode, and it's the first time we've ever done that. And we talked about the first episode, she introduced herself, about who she is, what she does, why she loves it. And then she educated us on the new definition and the actual definition of trauma.
Yeah.
And that was kind of really cool because there's different types and different levels of trauma. And I think that we definitely didn't really realize the depths and the differences. And so that was fun.
I think for me, like one of the hugest takeaways was kind of realizing that you just can't, I mean, like, okay, we've always heard, like, you can't compare your trauma to someone else's or yours, but like really realizing like, okay, so maybe somebody just had like a little tiny thing happen to them, but it affected them in a really big way, and it still can, just depends on who they are as a person. I thought that was so interesting.
Yeah, it was giving
Her
you that
model.
validation that like a little bitty car accident that wouldn't have affected this handful of people, like why, like it can affect someone significantly. Like it's just people experience it differently and handle it differently.
Yeah.
So
There
that
should be no
cool.
judgment there.
Yeah. And then in episode 2, what was really fun is that she has her models and she created this example, this imaginary girl, an example, and started teaching us how a small trauma that would be small to anyone, and I do challenge her on that.
Yeah, listen to that because it's really funny.
It is. She puts me in her place.
In your place, yeah.
In my place.
Both of us, I was like, oh, I think we might have actually stumped her. I think Sam stumped her. She's like, but Melissa, what about the person who blah, 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 blah? And Melissa's sitting there just like all patient, just listening, going, okay. She goes, well, I don't know you, Sam, but I might guess that she did not diagnose her. You're not allowed to diagnose somebody that's not your patient and in another state or whatever. But it was like funny. It was like, this is why that is happening, Sam, and you guys should listen to it. That was funny.
Yeah, it was funny. And we found out that the example she used
it was me. Not really.
Turned into one of our personal stories.
Yeah. So in kindergarten, I really did pee my pants because I was too afraid to raise my hand and ask to go to the bathroom. I didn't want to draw attention to myself. And I peed my pants. And I remember, so Melissa Walker was using an example of a first grader who peed her pants and how maybe different things that maybe then she becomes bullied and different things can happen on top of that to turn it into a more complex trauma. And so,
yes, it was talking about layers that can be added on to what make it a complex trauma, which leads into one of the things she wanted to clarify.
She did, yeah. She said she felt like she hadn't answered Sam in the...
No, she wanted to clarify the difference between a complex and a simple trauma.
That's right. I'm sorry. I was thinking about So a simple trauma and a complex trauma, it has nothing to do with how the effects on the person or the symptoms that the person is having. So like you could have a simple trauma that really affected somebody in a huge
like you get
way.
PTSD from it.
Yeah. You can also have a complex trauma where somebody's just they're handling it really well. So she said what basically the difference between simple and complex trauma is really how many layers of things happen that have attached themselves to that trauma. So like it could be like, is it family stuff? Is it sexual abuse stuff? Is it emotional abuse? Like what is all being attached to that trauma that makes it simple or complex? It's the trauma we're talking about, not the effect that it had on the person.
Or like the trauma itself. Like she was saying that like a sexual assault can be classified as a simple trauma, even though you've gotten PTSD from it. if it's not something that is added on multiple layers of, well, now I've been shamed about it, so now I'm uncomfortable,
Right.
talking about it. Now I'm, seeing a psychiatrist and I'm on medications because of
Yeah.
blah blah blah. Now my personality is different, and
Right.
like that's how it can like layer up and lead into a complex,
Okay.
but that it's not necessarily complex. But what makes it complex is when
All
she
those layers
used
do
the
add.
example of a car accident. So, like, a car accident itself does not make it complex. But when you have this car accident and then you break your leg and maybe you're, paralyzed for a short amount of time, now you need a major surgery. And now you're relying on family to take care of you. And so now you're constantly being hit with an after effect after after effect. That's what makes it complex because now you got to deal with multiple.
Yeah, like you're skinning an onion now,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
There's just a lot of layers, and it's not just one thing that you have to kind of try to reprocess this in your mind. It's like you're reprocessing a lot of different things, and I think that's what
Yeah.
makes it complex, right?
Yeah. So hopefully we corrected that
Cleared that up.
correctly for her. We had a conversation with her prior to recording this to make sure. We asked her, what are things that you wish you said
Yeah.
or wish you said differently or wanted to clarify? And she goes, let me tell you. I feel like we just talked about complex trauma, but not what it is and versus simple trauma.
Yeah.
And so she just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah. There was a big misspeak, I guess you could say. For some reason, she was talking and she's talking about EMDR, which is a form of therapy. Which what does EMDR stand for? I forgot.
Isn't that the
It is. It has to do with like things on the right and left side of the brain. Oh dear, Melissa's now got more to correct us on.
We're not even
Anyway,
going to go
I've
into what it is.
had EMDR done for me multiple times, and it's really awesome. We won't go into what it is. But basically, she accidentally said, I'm not trained in EMDR, but she is. And I don't know why she said that. It was just an accident. And I didn't call her out on it, knowing that she's trained on it. I should have.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. So she's like
beating herself up.
advanced
Yeah.
trained in EMDR.
Yeah.
Which I feel like I could have caught it because in editing she did talk about how she has a client that she does that with.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think like, she just said she's not trained.
So basically that was like her biggest thing. She's like, I can't believe I said that.
Yes.
Oh,
So correction, she is.
she is. It was okay. One other thing that was really cute. Scott, he goes, I think her husband is Scott. He goes, I think, honey, that you should clarify that a baby therapist just means that you're a young therapist and you haven't been therapizing that long. You don't therapize babies.
Which is silly because that's how I refer to doctors. Like I call them baby doctors if they're fresh out of school and still learning what they're doing.
Could think.
I could see how like me referring to someone as a baby doctor would mean that they are a doctor for babies, a pediatrician.
Yeah.
But anywho,
she was just talking about when
what
she's
did Scott say?
Oh, so okay, Melissa goes, the one takeaway that Scott had, I was like, oh no. She goes, is that Melissa Matthews thinks he's annoying. And I was like, what?
We were confused. I was like, she didn't say that.
I love Scott. He's one of my most favorite people in the world. He is another brother to me. She said, yeah, because when I said Scott doesn't have any, or he doesn't have any trauma, or he's a very sane person.
An annoyingly sane person.
And I said, yes, annoyingly so. And I was totally joking. It's one of those things like when I don't love these jokes, but people make them all the time. Like, oh, she's so pretty, we hate her. It was kind of like that. And I wish I didn't say it because Scott, you're not annoying. I'm just jealous that I'm not as sane as you. That's all it was.
It was jealousy. Insecure is at its finest. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. Exactly. No, we're all insecure.
We are about something.
No, I love Scott so much, but I don't think it really bothered him because he is actually annoyingly sane.
She did it again. It is what it is.
But it's funny that he said, Melissa said I'm annoying. I was like, when did I say that? But
yeah, that did stump us both.
That was funny and cute. But yeah, what else did we want to take and talk about that episode? Was there something else we wanted to mention?
Mm-hmm. She felt like she didn't answer my question.
Remind me. what that was.
So Melissa also.
Oh, yeah. You go.
Oh, okay. Sure. She mentioned that when she was listening to the episode, and she did multiple times, that she felt like I asked a question, and that when I asked her,
Melissa Walker.
Melissa Walker, I asked her if the girl who peed her pants in first grade, if she is going to now constantly live in a state of fight, flight, or freeze. And she said she felt like she didn't answer the question, but the answer to the question is that no, she's not going to constantly forever live in a state of fight, flight, or freeze. But anytime there is a situation that consciously or subconsciously brings up the memory, like going to the restroom in a public place or something, like that consciously, subconsciously brings up like, oh, I'm about to have to go to the bathroom and now I'm feeling anxious. That could and likely put her into the state of fight, flight, or freeze.
I kind of want to add one thing. I think, yes, absolutely. I also think she was saying if it's a simple trauma, not necessarily, it could put her in that. And then if it's complex and more things keep layering on that, then it could be somebody like where she called you out on it, where they almost are constantly in that state because a lot of things have built on that. She said that not everybody who has a complex trauma is going to have complex reactions and emotions, but they almost always are.
Yeah. It's not that common, but not uncommon to be living in a constant state of fight, flight, or freeze.
Yeah.
But hello.
Here she is.
It's me.
So yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of when you're living in that constant state, it's saying that you have a lot of defenses up, a lot of guards, a lot of armor and protection,
A lot of
and that's so sad
layers to peel
because you're
back.
trying to protect your little inside baby self.
Yeah, which is interesting because we were talking and I was like, I don't know what we're working on then because I don't know.
Okay.
But
say that to your therapist.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Say, hey, I need some more clarification because I bet she doesn't realize. Remember when Melissa said in the episode, if your therapist isn't working for you, if there's something that they're not explaining correctly, like call them on it in a way they want
No,
to.
she's great. And I think that she does.
Right?
She does give all the information. And I think that like when, for some reason, it's like when your mom gets mad at you, it's like, well, I've been telling you that for years. But then like your boyfriend or, someone like says the same thing and you're like, it's a genius thing. Like, obviously,
Right.
I think it's kind of like that. I think she's been telling me, and maybe it's just kind of like not
sunk in.
And then hearing like another professional say like the same thing. It's like, oh, well, now I need to ask more questions.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like that.
Yeah. I love that.
I'm sure she feels like that because I have talked to her after like we recorded. I was like, we recorded this. And then it was bah, and I was like, this is what you've been telling me. And she was just like, I bet she was like, yeah. Like in her head.
She probably loved it actually. Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. But yeah, so is that little girl who peed her pants in kindergarten or first grade going to constantly be living in? I guess it just depends on whether it turns into a complex trauma or not. But not necessarily.
Which in that example, we did add on layers to make it a complex trauma. So if you listen to that episode and you listen to all the number where we go through the sequence of the 7 dimensions
of trauma.
That is,
they're basically the 7 dimensions. I don't remember what they're called now. I'm afraid that we messed that up too, Melissa. But it's the 7 dimensions of things that like can affect how a person perceives trauma, I think.
I think it's like what adds it into being complex.
Yeah.
But yeah, so going through that is what made that example of ours complex.
Yeah, and just to be clear, even though I did pee my pants in kindergarten, I didn't get bullied for it. Like all of those examples that we layered on, that was just a fictitious, yeah,
coincidental, like
to tell an analogy. Yeah. So yeah.
As far as we know, Melissa is not complexly traumatized by it.
I don't think I am. But that was another interesting thing she said. It can be with somebody who maybe does have PTSD, it can be kind of difficult to pull apart. Like you really have to do a lot of self-reflection and maybe even with a therapist, right? to find out, like, okay, was that something that added to my trauma or not? Because she said a lot of times there's just so many different things that like that do add on together, and it can be hard to just separate. Like, okay,
Yeah.
that was just something that happened to me,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm pretty sure that was just something that happened to me.
Yeah.
I love how I just said it happened to me when I'm the one that peed my pants. It just happened.
It just happened to me.
I just happened.
Someone pushed the button. I peed my
The pee
pants.
came out.
Oh my.
But yeah. So yeah. I hope that answered everybody's questions. And I'm hoping that it was a really enlightening episode for everybody.
Yeah, I definitely thought about it honestly longer than I thought. I think I thought about it for probably 2 weeks after recording it and, while it was out and stuff. And I was like, man, that like just a whole lot of it made sense.
Yeah.
And especially, I haven't really decided on exactly like what I think about it, like on the stance of anxiety, depression, and like bipolar as a result of trauma. And
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I mean, I guess for me it probably makes sense, but
Right. So I think what she was saying, let me
put
try to
on your
remember.
Walker rein.
Let me try to put on my Melissa Walker hat. No, I don't have that. She's way cooler than me. I feel like she was saying, I just lost my train of thought.
It happened.
Wait, what was it you just said? You were talking about, this is embarrassing.
I'm gonna stop it there. Well, that is how it goes on the porch with Sam and Mel.
It does. I know I'm going to be so mad at myself for not remembering this because I wanted to clarify something that it just left my brain. So whatever.
Shit happens.
It happens.
Well, just remember that if you are liking these, to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I also am able to upload these onto our podcasting platform. So also if you subscribe to any of those, then you will get these as well.
Just without the visual.
Yes, without the visual. I haven't figured that part out yet.
That's okay.
And don't forget, rate and review.
Rate and review. Follow, and subscribe.
Rate and review.
And both.
All right.
Love you guys. You're the best squad ever.
Bye.
Bye.